today? I hope you're all doing well. Today, guess what? I am at my brother's Sugar Shack, G&W Maple, and we are going to do a little tour of how he runs this business successfully.
Hi, so I'm Nevin Witmer and I'm co-owner of G&W Maple Products, and this is the Sugar Shack here behind me. There's 3 smokestacks you'll see sticking out of the top. The ones for the biggest, tallest ones for the smoke, and the other 2 are for steam. They're just a little shorter ones. That's where the steam goes out as we boil. So then if you look on this side, there's tanks and lots of wood. We have a wood-fired evaporator, and so we boil with wood, and that uses a lot of wood. We have about 24 cords sitting here that we need to boil for this coming season. So we'll just step right inside here and we'll look around inside.
Okay, Nevin, How much maple sap does that tank hold?
So there's 2 tanks here, both 1,500 gallons each, and so that'd be 3,000 gallons. Just actually a little over that. They're 1,550, so that'd be actually 3,100 gallons in those 2 tanks. That's only a small part. We also have some more tanks around the back of the shed that are 600-gallon tanks and 275-gallon tanks. We have 4 of those as well.
Wow.
So.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
So I want to give you a little bit of a story about how this business actually started. And it started when my brothers were little. I have 4 brothers. And when they were teenagers, they somehow got interested in making maple syrup. And my dad had some sugar maples on his property, and so they tapped them and began to gather the syrup. They brought them in, and much to my mom's, sometimes she didn't always like them messing around in her kitchen, but they boiled the sap down on the kitchen stove, and sometimes they used an old burner on the back porch. And it was very makeshift, but my mom always had maple syrup in her pantry. If you can it, it lasts for a long time, canned, or in her fridge. And we used it for everything. And we all grew up just loving maple syrup. Now, I'm the oldest of 7 children. I also have 2 sisters. And to this day, us girls will get maple syrup from our brother. So over time, my brothers, one by one, began to get married. And the second brother, Nevin, decided that he's going to purchase a property that had quite a few sugar maples on it. It also had a really nice shed, which he turned into a sugar shack. And he had enough of interest in this sugar processing that he decided to make it a business, a side income for himself. And that's what happened. And today, he is a co-owner of G&W Maple. His brother-in-law also decided he wanted to help as well. So, between Lamar Graham and Nevin Witmer, that is how G&W Maple started. And the G&W stands for Graham and Witmer because that's the last name of the 2 owners. So, that's a little bit of the background. G&W had some very humble beginnings that started with a back porch, a few sugar maple trees, and 4 ambitious teenage boys.
So this is the evaporator right here. This is the firebox. So this is where we start the fire inside of this. Down in there. That's the, we put the wood in, and there's big blower fans that'll blow air up in, and the fire gets super hot. It's hotter than a bonfire, and you can't get close to it. You shut this door, it's all sealed off, and it's good. We hit the fan on, and it runs really good. What happens with the process, you come back here, these are all of our containers that would package syrup up in, so I'm just going to move them out of the way so we can kind of get in here. But the sap will come through this this pipe right here, we fasten this on here, and basically what happens is our sap will come in here, and this is a preheater. It's going to flow through this, through the steam, which when this is operating, you'll never be able to look in here, but up in there, there's like pipes, and it heats the sap really well. And this is and it comes out this way, comes through this, down into here. If you want to bring the camera right over here, this is a float system. This runs our gauges, our depth in the pan. Then it flows into the pan through the back of this. It's connected, and it flows to the far side of this big evaporator here. Through the far side, if you want to just look into here, and it flows there, and then it comes over this way. And so if you're looking down, you see these ribs. The fire is actually going through these ribs right here, and the sap's in here. So this creates a lot of surface area, increases the boiling by about 150%. So when you're talking boiling, it's not just a little kettle. The top of the ribs are right about here, and the boiling comes up to about right here. It's just all foam and just really intense heat in there. And then the syrup, now it comes through here, and once it hits this is another float system that we're running. When this is all full of sap, this will go up and down. And that's allowing sap that's about 75% done to flow into this, and then into this front pan. This is a flat pan right above the fire. This is where this is where we finish. This is called a finish pan here, finished flat pan. The syrup will come in here, flow over, and then front into this pan here, and then come through this one, over there, and into here, into this point, and then we control it with our gauge, and we just open and close it as we need it. And then we pull off into a big Princess House can here. And that usually sits right here, and we just pull that right off. And once it's, we run it. If you want to bring the camera right over here, this is a maple syrup thermometer. So we'll go around a couple times before it's ready. But then when it hits 7, that number 7 right there, that is when we draw.
Okay.
And sometimes it runs up to a couple degrees above or a couple degrees below, but 7 is where we draw. 7 degrees above boiling temperature, and that is syrup.
Wow.
So that's the process to bring us to the syrup. We get from the sap out in those tanks, we pipe it in here, we run through pumps, we get it into here, and it comes through here, we draw it off, and that's syrup. At 59 brix, it's a measurement of saying how heavy the sugar is. So that's the syrup.
What do you think? Do you think we ought to sneak a trip up to Vermont sometime when he's actually in the process of sugaring off? I think that would be fun to actually see the syrup and the whole process. Wouldn't that be amazing?
So we're going to take the syrup after we bring it out of here. We're going to pick this up with, it's going to be house syrup in about 2 to 3 gallons. And we're going to bring it in here and dump it in the top of here. And now there's filters in here, up about right here, from here up to here. Here, you might be able to see this. From here up to about here. And that's the vacuum pump. And that vacuum pump's going to be running, and we're going to pull the vacuum. This is a vacuum gauge. We're going to pull that vacuum right up here to 20. And by right there to 20. And that's going to draw the syrup down through the filter into the bottom of this. And then we'll open, this valve needs to be closed when the vacuum pump's running, or else it'll just go back through. Once we get it all down through, and it's into this holding tank, should be up to about right here somewhere. The syrup will be up in this area somewhere. Then we open it up, and we let that flow down through into this tank. And this is the canner unit. So this is where we can our syrup. So this is full of syrup. You can be able to tell right here that there's syrup. It's going to be up in here somewhere, and the temperature needs to be 190 degrees. So it needs to be right up there, right about there, 190. And we can, right out of the bottom of this, we fill jugs. Our most popular container is a gallon jug, and so we would fill out of this bigger container because it's faster. We'll just hold it right there and just fill it right up. Sometimes we can, out of this, we'll can 40-gallon drums. This is a 40-gallon drum. This is a 15-gallon drum. And we have 5-gallon buckets as well. Those are just for our use to recan later. Like right now, we might run out of half gallons or we need to make cream. And so we'll open up a 15-gallon drum or a 40-gallon drum and run that through.
So these are actually often have syrup in them.
This one actually presently has 40 gallons of syrup.
Oh,
this is full.
goodness, wow.
This is 40 gallons of syrup right here.
Wow.
This one's plumb full. It's just waiting for us to turn to cream and sugar or put it in glass. And this would be marked amber color. So if you bought our syrup or you want to buy our syrup and you get amber color, that's what this is full of, amber colored syrup. So this is our grading unit. So if you're buying our maple syrup and you see that it's golden, amber, or dark, this is our grading unit right here. This is how we grade. We'll fill the syrup into this little jar right here, and we want to match it with one of these to tell us what grade we're looking at. This is golden, so if it matches that color, if that's the color you match, then that's a golden, and you'll get a golden label right on top of your jug or whatever you're getting. If it says amber, it's going to be that color, approximately, and which happens to be what I have in this nice little jar right here. That would be the amber and the very dark. So just a little bit about these products. So the amber is what we start the season, and it's the middle of the season. So that's this one right here. The trees are just getting started. They're just putting a little bit of sugar up there, up to the buds, and they're trying to swell those buds. They're just trying to get a little bit, just starting to go. Then they send up what is called a golden sap, which is, you can't tell the difference. It's clear. It's all clear. Sap's clear. But when we boil it down, it has to get the same amount of sugar. It has less mineral, and so it's fancier. On the amber one, now this is going to be higher mineral. This is going to be a little more mineral for sugar content, so it's going to get a little darker. Then, of course, at the end of the season, when there's lots of sun, it gets dark. And that's because the sap has picked up a lot of mineral from going up and down the tree so much. And it's getting the sugar from the deep in the roots, so it's going to be higher mineral. It's down farther in the ground. And so you're getting a darker. Also, the sun affects the dark. The more sun you have, the darker the syrup. The more sun you have earlier in the season will create a longer period where you have dark syrup. This past year, we had very low volume of dark syrup. Most of our syrup was amber. About 35% was golden. So that's the arrangement of how we did this. We only made maybe 30 gallons of dark this past season. And we're almost out. We don't have a lot of dark. Some of it, if you look on our website, you're going to see that there's not everything even has a dark option anymore. Some of them we're sold out on some of the options of dark. So we don't have a lot of dark. If you're looking for dark, you have to look. It's going to be on the quarts, maybe some pints and maybe some half pints. I don't know if we even have any gallons anymore, half gallons. I think we're pretty much sold out of the dark for those bigger containers. So that's how we grade. And so when you see the grades, that's a little bit of what's happening there. It gives you a little idea so that you know what you're getting.
So the lighter the color, the fancier the syrup.
That's right. The lighter the color. This is a golden. This is fancy. This is a really light flavor. Not as much flavor, just more of a sweet with a light maple, delicate flavor. This amber is going to be a richer, more caramelized maple flavor with the same amount of sweetness. They're all the same amount of sugar in them because we measure them. 59 brix of sugar makes syrup, so they're all exactly the same. And now this one here is going to have a lot more flavor because it's later in the season. Less sugar, so we boil it farther. So now that we talked about the syrup some and how we make it, running through this evaporator over here, I would like to talk a little bit about cream. A lot of you like the cream. It's our most popular item out there. If you haven't tried it yet, you better try it. It's the best out there. Basically what happens is we're going to dump syrup in here. We're going to heat it we're gonna boil it. Syrup boils at 219 degrees. We're gonna raise this temperature all the way to 230 degrees. That's very hot. And then we take it off, we stick the lid on, we turn the heat off, we let it cool overnight. It's gonna cool down to 60 degrees temperature or less. Sometimes in the summer it's hard to get that. But overnight we'll just let it sit. The next morning I come out here and I'll dump it into this cream machine. We dump it in the top of this nice wedge, nice funnel shaped stainless steel machine. And it runs down into a pump. The pump blends it, pumps it in here, back up through this nice little arch, back in there, and we just run it through and through until it's whipped to the right consistency. Right consistency is when it's just creamy, there's no butter, no milk added, it's just this creamy substance that you can put on toast, and it is amazing. So when I'm running it here, I have it run, and I'm looking up here, I monitor it all the time. It's going to bring it up, it's going to look beautiful. Eventually it's going to get like white, looks like cream, like really thick, heavy whipping cream with some stretch to it. And then I simply fill my containers right out the bottom of this. And we put the lids on tight and they seal themselves right on. One thing about cream, you probably want to keep it refrigerated if you buy it and open it. It's a refrigerated product, just like any maple syrup or anything else. Once you open that container, it's got to be refrigerated or it'll grow mold. The problem with cream is if it grows mold, you can't really just heat it back up because you won't own one of these machines. They're only about $2,000. I doubt you'll buy one unless you're really, really into syruping, maple syrup stuff. But so we recommend that you keep that in the refrigerator, and it should last 3 to 6 months in the refrigerator, no problem. But it is the delicacy, and it is very good, and we recommend it very highly.
How much maple cream does that machine make in one batch?
So it's 3.5 gallons. We'll bring it right to the full line. Okay. 3.5 gallons of syrup. We have to be a little careful. Of course, it's whipping it, so sometimes it wants to expand a little bit. So 3.5 gallons. If for over 3.5 gallons, we can't run it. We want to turn it right off and pull some off.
All right. Well, I just had some on my scrapple this morning, and it was absolutely amazing.
That's the way to do it right there. Put it on scrapple. Put it on toast, pancakes. It's also a delicious ham rub, like glaze on hams. It's a really good option. There's other recipes. If you ever want them, just keep an eye on our website and on our recipes. Sometimes we post things that say maple cream and what you can do with it. And there's a lot of good options out there. I would like to also talk about sugar. It's the primary product in our maple rubs. All 2 of our maple rubs and our soon-to-be 3 maple rubs that we're going to be marketing. Make sure you check that out. We're going to soon launch our 3rd maple rub. If you haven't bought any of our maple rubs, make sure you get some on our website, gnwmapleproducts.com, and you can find our products right there. You can definitely order it and we'll ship it within 24 hours usually. But we want to talk about sugar. Sugar is what we like to put on, you can do it in baking, or you can add it to tea, you can add it anywhere just like regular white sugar, except it's sweeter, so you want to just back it down a little bit. About half. If you're baking a batch of cookies, put only half as much in. If you're doing any kind of baking or anything like that, you're using our sugar, don't use full amount, just use half, and you'll be just fine. But what we do is, I take you put about 5 gallons of syrup in here, and I start boiling it, and I boil it, and I boil it, and I think I'm never going to get done, and I boil it some more, and I need to raise that temperature to 259.5 degrees. If you're at 259.7 degrees, it will probably burn. So it's very, very careful. You want to bring it right up to that temperature and stop the process. Take it off the heat, set it on the cool concrete floor, and begin to whip that. And you just whip it and whip it and whip it and whip it and whip it until it cools to about 80 degrees. By the time it reaches to 80 degrees, it's just going to be grains of sugar. It's just going to look like regular sugar. The whole container will just be full of sugar, and you dump it out and you let it cool. And it's the faster you beat it, the finer the sugar is. So if you want 10x sugar, if you could beat it fast enough, you would have 10x sugar. If you want just granular sugar, similar to white sugar, then you would beat it slower. We tend to be about halfway in between, and most of our sugars are just a little finer than regular white sugar, but not nearly as fine as 10x sugar. 10x sugar is a really, really hard process to make. It's easier just to blend it in a blender after we get it, and you can make 10x sugar for icings or whatever by just taking our sugar, dumping it in a blender, hitting the blender on for 5 minutes, pulverizes it, and it's 10x sugar. It's the same stuff. So you make icings right out of it. Same sugar, no difference. Just hit it in the blender and you're good. So this is my maple corner. It's where I mix, package all your orders, mix up the rubs. We package maple sugar here. We mix maple rubs here. We brainstorm here and play around with a lot of different really cool things. We label a lot of our containers here. So as you can see, there's all kinds of containers all around me here. And obviously there's something else, there's a coffee maker back here. That is what I use when I'm doing book work over on my desk or anywhere. So this is my corner. This is like our basement here, and it's where I work. There's a sink and some beautiful Princess House container here and some other dishes that we have down here. I think we will just start. I just want to show you a little bit labeling wise. This is a gallon jug. We have to, by federal law, we have to label all of our products with our name and the address and a phone number to get a hold of me with. And we also label it with our color. So we had talked about it earlier about the amber color. That's what this gallon is. If you look at this jug, that's on a different location, but it's still on here. The golden color. And this jug, it's a pint, is the dark color. So I have some of all of them here. This is where we label everything, and we package a lot of stuff right here. We package our maple rubs. So this is our maple barbecue rub and our maple rub. This is called a rub because it's primarily made for meat, but we use it for everything. Just this morning I made fluffy eggs, if you know what Dutch babies and fluffy eggs are, and I sprinkled some maple rub right on top of it. It was delicious, and actually it was better than the one that just had the salt on. That was a family consensus. We had my in-laws around and they all agreed. So just saying, that was a really big hit this morning. Another item that we talked about outside was the maple cream, and that also is labeled with our name. So we have the maple creams, we have all of our different plastic jugs down here on the bottom. If you look up here, we have the tins. This is a pint and a half pint tin up here. We have the gingerbread. That's 100 milliliter. We have the 250 milliliter, this beautiful little jug here with the snowman on the front. We have some maple leaves, this beautiful Bordeaux bottle. It's my favorite, my personal favorite. And we have down here at the end, we have a little jug. That's the same jug as this one, except this is the liter, that's 250. There's also one in between there, that's 500 milliliter. And then we have this little tiny maple leaf, this little tiny one. If you've bought over $75 on the last sale, you would have got one of these free. So hopefully everybody received theirs free, and they can have fun with that little jug. It's a really beautiful little iconic jug. But now to something more interesting to you maybe. This is the container that I mix all my rubs in.
How many gallon is that?
This is a 20 quart, I believe, or 22 quart. Let me just quick check here. 20 quart, that was correct. we like to, on a typical rub, we'll fill this right up to about right here.
Wow.
So we put our sugar in, about half of the sugar, then we put our maple sugar, and then we put whatever spices we want into it to bring it to the proper flavor. We'll put the other half of sugar in, and then I take this onto a powerful drill.
Wow.
And I'll just drop that right down in there, turn it on low speed, and that drill will just spin that thing, and it's just like a fan blade. It's just going to mix. This will push up and this will push down, so it just mixes really nice. And it's just, we do it for about 2 minutes.
Okay.
We mix.
And then how many packages do you usually get out of this 20-quart stock pot?
So typically it would be approximately 24 packages out of this. Plus or minus, depending on our batch. Which batch it is. The maple rub is a little bit bigger batch. We get 26 out of that. This one here is a 23 actually, so not quite 24. Just sometimes we end up with just a little bit over, or usually right around 23 in a batch of that size.
Sounds good.
It's a little bit lighter, probably a little bit lighter herb in it or something. So you end up getting a little volume there. Or this one might be a little heavier. I'm sorry. This one is probably a little lighter.
Okay.
So that's our mixing thing right there. We then we'll bag it. So we'll take this and we'll stick this on a scale. So we'll open it up, stick this right on a scale, so it'll be all open. And we have a little funnel that we stick right on top of this, and then we'll just pour it in until it gets to 8 ounces. Then we push the air out, ziplock it, and we have this little machine. Let me just grab that real quick. This machine right here, and I'm not going to plug it in so that I can show you what it does, because if I plug it in, I'll just do it again. But see this one here? You just stick it right in there like that. You just push down, hold it for about that long, and it makes a perfect seal. If that seal's ever broken, want to return it to us, and we'll send you a new one.
Okay.
You want to make sure that's always just that way when you get it in your box. That way it's not broken. That's why it's clean, good maple rub.
Okay, Nevin, what is your goal for G&W Maple?
My goal is to bring maple syrup, Vermont maple syrup, straight to your door and to ship it as quickly and as smoothly as possible so that you get a high quality product that tastes perfect.